In July 2005, 25 Tlingit, Haida and Tsimshian elders gathered in Juneau, Alaska to speak and listen and meet with one another, to tell stories about their lives, their clans, their nations, and their land. Stories about embracing family and community wellness. The year before, these same elders had met to agree upon a common set of traditional tribal values. Those values were then taken to the 69th Annual Delegates Assembly of the tribe and unanimously adopted. They are as follows: discipline and obedience to the traditions of our ancestors, respect for self, elders, and others, respect for nature and property, patience. Pride in family, clan, and traditions is found in love, loyalty, and generosity. Be strong in mind, body, and spirit. Humor. Hold each other up. Listen well and with respect. Speak with care. We are stewards of the air, land, and sea. Reverence for our Creator. Live in peace and harmony. Be strong and have courage. These are the stories they told.
I'm Arnold Tsimshian, and the language that I speak is Tsimaliach. We don't call it Tsimshian language. It's Tsimaliach, and the translation to that is the language. The first word I'd like to say on that is yukyetk, healthy. Being healthy doesn't mean that you can do anything and what have you. It also covers the part of being well, a good listener, and respect. Because without these, your health doesn't stay with you. It disappears. Without respecting your elders, without respecting your community, your people, your fellow members, and without upholding them, the health doesn't stay with you. You worry about it. Just to reverse that part where you worry about the items or the subjects I spoke of, you can tear your own health down. Today's youth seem to think that the health is there forever. It isn't. I'm now what they call a second-timer, a two-timer. I've had 2 heart operations, and I'm on borrowed time. So those of you who are listening, no matter which group that you're in, keep in mind that the values of our own people are what could keep you healthy in your own area. No matter where you go, you take it with you. Being a senior citizen seems to have one part that bothers me. We have lost the part that we are doing now of roundtable discussions, or even talking and speaking to younger ones, the children, the stories that go on the part. To illustrate this, there's laws, and there's rules in the part. They tell one thing, they said, if you're going to do something, look into it and see what the results will be for you and the ones that love you. You don't just do it just because someone says, go ahead and do it. Being healthy, to stay healthy, you must keep that part as a native, you're not thinking only of yourself. I had wondered, what's next? As I sit amongst my friends in the auditorium, what's next for me? I wear glasses. I have lens implants in both eyes. I have hearing aids in both ears. I've been operated on the heart parts. How do I express to the younger ones that health is very important? The only thing I can say is that individually, it's like anywhere else. It's up to you. It's not up to mother or father or uncle or aunt. You must carry your weight to see that you have the values that are set forward by others ahead of you. The part that I'm looking at now is that we used to play on the beach as the summertime, as the tide comes in and the water is warm. And we'd play in there and we'd step on a kelp and slip and fall. And the parents and the grandparents and uncles who were around would tell us, what did you learn from that? To look and see. See where you're going. Have fun, but watch your steps. It's a simple part to remind you that today, with all the chemicals and the false pills, the crazy water, we can't really step and shake them up. This is what I'm leading to this part here is we used to just speak and talk and bring down the child to go to the right way. Today we have gone on with the movies, slap them, hit them, wake them up, and they in turn go up doing the same thing to their children. That's not right. That's not being healthy. That's being brutal. In our own different legends on that part, we're supposed to be kind to everything, including animals. Patience. It takes patience to be healthy. At times, it's humorous to think about being patient. You can't hurry things up just because you want it. As I say, our own people would tell us and remind us the tide doesn't change just because you want it to. The wind doesn't blow the other way because it's blowing one way at that particular day as you travel. The sun doesn't stay in one spot. The moon doesn't either. So I would suggest that each one of the younger ones, as they grow up, to look into that part. See what is moving around you. See what is changing. Even the life of an animal. You can bring a pup and train him. It doesn't make any difference what language you have. You can train that dog to react to your language. One of the part that I'd always have on that is our own traditions, our own ways. We can't blame someone else for something that we ourselves are in control of, that we've lost the control in it. In the Tsimshian the most important part to learn quickly and very early in life was to swim, because we lived near the water and river and lakes. There's no excuse of not learning how to swim. And the person participates in the whole group to learn that part. But today, we have turned that around, and it seemed like whoever is leading the pack is what they want to follow. You can be an excellent dancer, an excellent singer, but you must want it first. You can't have someone else pour it into you. You must want that part. Education is the same way. I'd like to remind the young ones in our own community that we all have an equal start. Doesn't make any difference what color skin that you have, where you were born, whether you are in the royalty or the chief's son, daughter. We all have equal start. We all have to start in one part. Pride in oneself and one's accomplishments is the other part that we should look at. One thing that I have against our own method of recognition in the Tsimshian group, why do we have special days set aside to remember a person that has passed on? Why couldn't we do it when they're still alive and have them enjoy that part? We do it now through the school system by recognizing their achievements, be it in athletics or in the scholarship part. But as a grown person, you don't have to be a genius. You might be the best painter in the community. Let's recognize that. Let's recognize anything in that part. That's praising and helping one another to go and be pushed up to see that you have accomplished something and not just lost in existence. Health. Without health, you can't make use of your wealth. Surrounding us in each community, a native community, are different subsistence materials. To be healthy, you must know them. You can't live, if you look back into your own history and especially our native group, we have suddenly become overweight, too much of the other food. I wish we could do that with the knowledge that they can push out to us, that we can get just overeducated. I'm a product of World War II, the GI Bill of Rights. They called us the Apple Indians in those days for going to school. But that's what we need today. More competitive, more young people into different jobs. I'd like to tell a very short story here. It's about a young girl. Her parents were in the royalty part of the clan that lived in one little village. She was beautiful. Every young man that came through there proposed, and she said no. A young man who was very brilliant and an excellent hunter and fisherman and trapper and what have you, he was young. She laughed at him, tore him to pieces in public. The young man said, "Thank you for reminding me that I must look at myself before I come back to you again." The grandfather came by and heard that what the young lady said and told her, said, "You have made an error, a mistake. You are judging by your own wishes of what you want." And then he pointed out all that, being patient, be true to your parents, being courteous, being generous, be gentle, be ambitious, be a hard worker, all that part. And she started crying on that, and before Grandpa finished, she called her brothers. And the ending is this. She called her brothers and said, "Build me a tier of yellow cedar and red cedar. Pour some of the oil on, put the shavings in between it, put my chair that I sit on, and let me sit there and light the fire." Moral of the story: judge others as you would have yourself being judged. She forgot all about the nice-looking fellows, the ambitious, the hard workers. She only thought of what she wanted out of her own life. Our modern life in each home now doesn't cover storytelling. The only time they would hear it is if I, as a senior citizen, go to them and tell them a story. One thing that I have noticed, the quietness, how courteous they are, it's coming back, that part. Amongst strangers, amongst different tribes. It never used to be that way. The one thing that we still have to break is, we mentioned it in our own gathering, and I'm guilty as one too, is moving around when someone else talking. It doesn't make any difference. I'll state it again, it does not make any difference how many times you've made an error or a mistake, but learn from them and continue, and don't dwell on that error and the reason, and don't put the mistakes and the errors onto someone else's shoulders and saying it's theirs. Lepahanam. We leave the young ones alone when they make a mistake until they see their own mistake, and then they'll correct it, rather than taking them and shaking them up and belittling them or pushing them aside and saying, "No, it's not the way to do it," publicly. Yeah.
Alisaya King Andas Lukunana Digula Digwa Wagina Nuya Daskit Alun Kilkana Digula Digwa Yahuwah Lihiyai Yahuwah Lihiyai Yahuwah Lihiyai Yahuwah Lihiyai Yahuwah Lihiyai Yahuwah Lihiyai Ooh.